Hey friends, it's a happy Friday in my world, and I call it Future Friday because it's the opportunity to stay future focused. And so generally it's some sort of project that is, an investment in where I want to go. Many times it could be a conversation where I'm reaching out to a friend or a client and I'm just working on their stuff and I'm investing in a, future for that relationship. And I just want to challenge you to stay future focused. When you say, what does it mean to be future focused? Well, I'll tell you one thing, it is not the same as futuristic. And I love futuristic stuff. And I think people who can always, see around the corner before everybody else, that is a real gift for sure. And I know people that are, they have that seer gift and it is so profound and powerful. But really being future focused is more about keeping what you're doing today in context of where you're going. And so it might just be sticking with your habits. It might be doing the thing that feels underwhelming right now, but you're just always bringing a bigger why to the work. And so future focused is, how are you going to motivate yourself to make the most of today? And one of the best ways to do that is have a really clear view of the future and a really clear definition of what kind of future you're going for. And a lot of leaders, they live cluttered. I don't want to say it too loud because I don't want to mess up your reputation. I care about you and I want you to feel good in some ways, but the secret is out, for many people. They see it, and while you're working through things, silently, privately, the reality is that your team sees it, they feel it, your community, they care about you. So they're always leaning in. They're saying, how's the leader? How is the owner? How's the pastor? They feel connected to what you're doing because you've given them so much over the years. And then if you feel cluttered, if your mind is cluttered with all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, then you can't have that clear focus. And so great leaders, they don't try to get into the future, they work from the future. They've already gone into the hopeful future and they've found a way to have a hopeful commitment. There's a commitment level there where they feel totally bought into the reality and the possibility that things are getting better, that things are on the rise, that there's a beautiful story in the making. And now with that hopeful future, they go to work. And one of my favorite examples is Nehemiah. He's a powerful leader, and basically he was heartbroken, uncontrollably crying in front of the king. And there's huge cultural implications to all of that. The story is so rich, I encourage you to go check it out. But basically there was a time where he was so sad and heavy-hearted about, the situation of his homeland, and he couldn't hide it. But then he goes and there's this moment where he privately, secretly is surveying all of the damage around town, and he sees where all the brokenness is. And then after that, after he's gotten a full inventory of everything that's broken, then he says, okay, now let's get to work. And he begins to step up and, lead by example. And he's really just putting courage in those that are there. And he finds a way to rally them and unify them around, shared vision of the future while they are supposed to be focused on their area of the wall. And so that's a huge case study and insight for leaders who maybe you're leading a business. Maybe you are growing your own business. Maybe you have a dream of launching a family business that your kids will grow into and they'll run with one day. Maybe you are part of a a community and you have a heart to see it grow into multiplying leaders and teams, and so now it's a network or it's a movement, this is a huge insight for you, because how do you have a unifying future, okay, where there's alignment where it counts, but then it gives, there's a unifying principle, but there's also a empowering dynamic where people are able to focus on their own stuff. They're able to focus on their department. They're able to focus on their family. They're able to focus on their business. They're able to focus on their area of the wall. And, you know, Nehemiah-minded type leaders are able to do that. They can create core messaging that gives people a hopeful future, and that galvanizes them to go to work. And so if you're just, you know, having all these deep conversations and they're open-ended and they're not helping anybody, then you're wasting time. But if you can motivate people with a hopeful future, you're saying, hey, I'm not in denial. I'm not saying that there's not a lot to work on. I'm not saying that the situation is really tense, but I am telling you, I am fully persuaded that this mission matters. And when you come with that kind of, you know, I call it the brave face. You got to put your brave face on. And I talk about this a lot, but a lot of leaders, they don't have a authentic brave face, meaning when you have to get in front of your troops and it's kind of low morale, or maybe it's tense, or maybe it's fearful, and people are kind of, you know, shifty-eyed, and they're looking for where are the real influencers in the room, and how do we figure this out? It takes someone to step up and put on their brave face authentically, because you can, you know, sit in meetings all day, and I've been a part of a few of these where, you know, you're trying to create a sense of camaraderie, you're trying to invest in culture, you're trying to lay out the next 90 days or the next year or whatever. And it's like their motivational pep talk is not translating. And so I feel for that, and I want to say something, but I can't really put my finger on it. What's happening? It's because your brave face has to be authentic, and you can't just tell, you know, the team what you think they need to hear. You've got to have the reality of the situation, and like Nehemiah, you can say in your heart of heart, I have surveyed all of the brokenness, you know, in this certain context, and yet I'm still fully resolved to figure it out and to go through with it. And I love that posture, because it doesn't mean you have everything worked out. It doesn't mean you have a full plan. It doesn't mean that you know exactly how every step is going to go. But if you have this hopeful future in the closed hand, that, hey, I don't know how we're going to get there, but I know we will get there. We're going to figure it out. We have the agency to put our trust in the Lord, and then through that process, He will lead us through. I think that's a really compelling way to do it, instead of kind of what I call the opposite of that approach would be a phrase I call rigid optimism. Rigid optimism, and it's this idea that no, I don't accept any bad news. I don't accept any sense of reality check. I don't accept any kind of diagnosis about the situation. I don't want to hear it. You just stay upbeat, stay positive, stay encouraged. And I get both sides. I genuinely understand both sides. You have to have encouragement and energy to go do the work, right? But at the same time, there has to be a level-headed leader who says, I'm not fragile. And yeah, there are parts that frustrate me about the situation, but it's going to be very fruitless if we are just kind of playing semantics. And what really helps us is to be like Nehemiah and go with our heart open and feel all of the brokenness around, and then come back and say, this mission still matters, and we're gonna persevere. I think that's powerful. And I could talk about other examples, namely Jesus Christ, the best leader of us all, the example, the model, and the unique exception. And so he is still the de facto leader, not just for the church, but for the believer. And so, that's coming from my faith journey. But I think sometimes we try to make Jesus an example that now we can replace. No. He's not our example in the sense that we replace him. He's the example in the sense that now we live in Christ. And so that example is extended through our willingness, our obedience, trust, faith, etc. But all that to say, do you have your brave face on? And can you communicate with that brave face on? Meaning impart courage when things are tough. How do you communicate courage when things are tough? And it's by wearing an authentic brave face. People see bravery and they're inspired. People see bravery and they're reassured by you. They see bravery and they realize that you're not, aloof to the reality of the situation. And that's tough, because as you grow in a measure of responsibility, you go to a lot of meetings, and those meetings are populated by people who either think like you or want to say what they think you want to hear. So it becomes very tough for leaders to have a real barometer on what's really going on in their organizational culture or within their leadership context. And so looking for, whether it's data or feedback or trends or whatever, they invest a lot of money into those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I think we have to go survey things. We got to go, like Nehemiah, go hit up those different spots and sites. And I love this quote. It says, you go on site to get insight. And there has to be a willingness in us to go to the field, to go where the team is, to go where the community is, to go where the movement is, to go where the organization is, to go where the frontline leaders are, and to really be with them and to feel what they're feeling, and then to come back and say, I've surveyed the situation and we're going to have a, full stop commitment. We're going all in. We're going to stay the course. We're going to keep going. Despite everything that we just saw, that's phenomenal leadership in my mind, that you can give people a shared focus, shared story around the future, and then say, now because we have this shared vision or this shared story, I like that probably a little better, now we're going to empower you to ignore each other and get to work on what's in front of you. And I think, so many times we're trying to vision cast, and we don't let people go. We don't let them go to work. We don't let them make the progress that's needed and get to work. And, because we said, well, we just shared the vision. You got to help us get this thing done, right? And I like to say that it's okay for an organization to have multiple visions. And I know that sounds really bad. It's like, whoa, wait a second. No, there's one vision. We're all in on it. We got to do it all together. But just hear me out for just a second. The reality is that sons become fathers, metaphorically. And, great team members can become great team builders. And generalists are going to become specialists. And if we play that game over and over again, where we're making leaders and more leaders, or if you're in the church context, disciples making disciples, then we should be getting more vision, right? Our organizational culture should be getting more vision. We should be able to see more and go further and do more, through the combined, carrying power, carrying capacity of the new growing leadership community. But what is not good, what is not okay, what should not be tolerated is that we don't have the same values. So values are the thing that we pull together on. And that's kind of where I get this idea of shared story. But it could be your origin story, your commissioning moment. There's other ways I've described it in the past. But you've got to have shared values. What's going on in people's heart? Do they really care about the mission? Do they care about the work? Do they care about the people? Do they care about the founder and the future, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. And if we don't have shared values and that alignment, particularly at the leadership level, then all of the team logistics are going to unravel. And you're going to be wondering, why are we basically swinging this dull axe all the time, and we're doing double, triple work, and it feels like we're not getting anything done? It's because we're not taking time to sharpen the axe, like Abe Lincoln said. And when we sharpen the axe and we really put in iron sharpening iron, and we really focus on the values that are giving us the edge to keep leading, then I really believe when people are sharp in their values and their competencies and their commitment level, they're going to start seeing things and dreaming about things that are personalized to their work. And so, I think it's amazing. Everyone has this shared hopeful future that's being communicated clearly, not in a vacuum, but after you've seen the damage and you're still willing to get back to work for restoration, for, a hopeful future. That unifying core messaging is now going to empower, galvanize people to get to work on their part of the wall, and empower people to actually focus, empower people to follow one choice until successful, right? That is so valuable, that we let leaders be the driver in their sphere. Let them work in their own field. And there's a variety of fields that we could talk about. But that, closed hand, open-handed approach, these are the things that pull us together. These are the things that help us reach out and release others towards. It's that paradox that makes pioneering leadership so needed. And I'm convinced here at the outset that the primary emphasis in the leadership community right now and going into the future is pioneering leadership, because pioneering leadership is where we are, and we've got to be able to navigate and create the hopeful future in these many new fields. So this was me unscripted, hoping to encourage you. And I don't even think I'm going to edit it. I'm just going to upload it, see what happens. Let me know if this resonates with you, if you understand what I'm trying to get across. And then also, I want to personally invite you to be a part of my upcoming 5-day challenge. It's called the Uncharted Way, and it's for leaders in business and ministry. And the one thing we have in common is we all want to make uncharted progress in every direction of our life this year. And you are multifaceted and multi-passionate, and you're going to have to learn, how do you stay future focused? How do you stay very, very clear on that hopeful future? And then how do you dial in to know which direction to focus on to get you there? And so it's 5 days. We're going to meet during lunchtime, Central Standard Time. It's a conversation for leaders on all levels who want to lead themselves, who want to stay inspired, who want to grow their capacity so that way they can be a prepared leader for their family, their team, and their mission. I'd love to invest some time with you. These challenges are amazing. They are high value and high vision. And so come ready to get inspired. I hope that it literally fires you up with so many ideas and so many pre-decisions and so many practical tactics that you can literally sharpen your axe and chop through all the stuff that was bogging you down in quarter one or previous years. I hope that you accelerate because you've gone through this 5-day challenge. So register while spaces are available, and this thing is going to come and go, and I want you to be in on it. So that's why I want to share it with you. All right, thanks for watching. Remember, the future has so many fields waiting on you, so prepare to go there.